What's up, party people? BV here, and welcome to another episode of Retail Media Vibes, a doing business in Bentonville podcast. We are recording live at Podcast Video Studios in Rogers, Arkansas. And today we've got a great conversation lined up. I have with me a retail commerce expert with Blake Taylor. Blake Taylor has been in this space for quite a while, and we're going to hear a little bit about him here in just a minute. And so got to meet Blake. He works with me at AdFury.ai. So it'll be great to talk about e-commerce and everything that's happening in that space. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. Well, Blake, welcome to Retail Media Vibes. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Excited to be here.
So we like to start with a little vibe check so the audience can get to know Blake a little bit better. So, how you feeling? Are you doing?
Yeah, feeling good. Excited. It's going to be a good conversation, hopefully.
All right. So give us a little bit about your background and how you found yourself in where you are today.
Yeah, great question. Maybe a little bit of a somewhat unconventional road, but we're here nonetheless. I guess going back probably about 6-ish years now, right around, I guess, the time that COVID was kind of starting. So nothing really to do with e-commerce.
Working with metal.
Business.
All right. So you're working with physical metal.
Yeah.
To buying stuff online.
Exactly.
All right.
A normal transition, right?
Yeah, of course.
But grew up here in the Northwest Arkansas area and obviously had a lot of respect for Walmart. And honestly, at one point in my life, probably thought I was never going to be smart enough to work for someone like Walmart. But I guess, again, stars aligned, found the right path here, had some great connections with people, and ended up working with White Spider back in about 2020.
Yep.
And spent the last 5.5 years kind of on that White Spider journey with that team where they went through a couple kind of growth periods and an acquisition into Flywheel. And so spent the last 5.5 years there developing some of our Walmart retail or digital shelf capabilities.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about digital shelf. So that's great.
Absolutely. Right up, hopefully my wheelhouse there. And then even dabbling into retail media a good bit as well, especially as we made that transition into Flywheel. One of the premier retail media agencies around right now. Got a lot of experience hands-on with media and executing media. So really excited to talk about how those worlds converge between that kind of digital shelf and maybe organic and content optimization into retail media and how those play well together. So spent the last 5.5 years doing that and then recently made the move over to AdFury whenever I heard the opportunity to work back with a team who kind of started White Spider, was really excited about that opportunity, but maybe even more so to kind of stay on that cutting edge of what is digital commerce. And digital commerce is starting to be synonymous with AI in so many ways. And I didn't want to miss that opportunity as well. So I'm really excited to be with this new team and kind of getting that kicked off.
So it sounds like you got into e-commerce. So I always think of things like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. And so sounds like you got into it right at that pandemic time period. Is that right?
That's spot on.
Yeah. And so I think that's a very interesting time to come into this space because there was such an acceleration of e-commerce because, people were not shopping in stores, even though a significant number of people were still shopping in stores. But obviously e-commerce was a huge growth engine for so many retailers like Walmart, of course, and Amazon and others.
Yeah.
So it must have been a really interesting time because not only were you getting into an industry that was new for you personally, right? You were getting into it at a time where it was just taking off. And so, how did you keep up with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think luckily it was pretty new for a lot of people at the time. When you think about like the
little trial and error.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. When you think about the teams around here, the brand teams, like nobody was set up for e-commerce and ready for that wave. Amazon was well ahead of the pack and everyone knew Amazon and they kind of had a corner on the e-commerce market almost. But situations changed and we had a global pandemic and everyone had to change the way they shopped and got product to their homes.
Right.
And so it was kind of everyone's thrown into the fire at once trying to figure this out. And so I don't feel like I was necessarily behind coming in, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we had to put on our big boy pants and figure out how to do this faster than anybody else and build a company and build a team at White Spider that could be kind of first to market in a lot of capabilities. So and we're really proud of what we did. So
no, I love hearing, how people kind of ramp up into something that, they weren't doing before and then having the pressure of the pandemic and everything, the growth of e-commerce during that period must have been especially fun.
Sure.
Right? Maybe challenging, but fun.
Absolutely.
All right. couple of little personal things. I understand that you're a new dad, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's feeling less and less new every day
Yeah.
as we're coming up on 7 months now, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome. Incredibly blessed with a sweet little girl and a great wife that is a good mother to her.
Awesome.
So couldn't ask for anything better there. She's as sweet as can be, and we're incredibly lucky. We're starting to get a little more sleep, which is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm returning back to normal self a little more, but
Right.
that's the tax of parenthood early on, and it's well worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So just so a little hypothetical.
Okay.
If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would be an alternate universe career for you?
Whew, good question. I'll give you a big curveball way out there. So, always grown up loving animals.
Yeah.
So if I could pick one thing, I would open a zoo in Northwest Arkansas.
A zoo. All right.
Yeah. I think if the Walton Family Foundation out there is listening, or anyone wants to partner on a zoo, it wouldn't be hard to pry me away from what I'm doing right now.
So I hope they're not.
Give me a ring.
'Cause
Right?
I really enjoy working with you.
No, I've always thought that would be a really cool thing. I think we have a really cool environment and kind of community that I think would really lean into that, and some of the cool conservation efforts and kind of syncing up with nature. I think we have a cool community that would really lean into some of the cool elements of that. So yeah, that's my kind of secret job desire.
That's fun, man.
One day may hopefully pull me away.
I would have not guessed that at all. But great to get to know you a bit, Blake, and getting ready to hit into our topics for today.
Cool.
All right, Blake. Before we get into the main topic, we're going to hit a few quick stories that are impact our world to some degree. It depends on how you want to look at these stories. But the first one we're going to talk about is Walmart is expanding their Scintilla platform and connecting it directly into the Walmart app so that suppliers can access store level insights physically in store, right?
Yeah.
So there's always this conversation that takes place about online data versus in-store data and the marrying of both. So what I understand, and I'm not necessarily the expert here, but what I understand is like a brand manager or field rep is going to be able to walk into a Walmart store, opening the app, and then they can see the data that is actually tied to that exact location, stock levels, back room, stock, et cetera. They can look at how products are performing. They're looking at how the assortment is maybe working, maybe some shopper behavior because it's tied to that Scintilla platform.
Sure.
Now, I think this exists in other apps, and I think even some brands have their own apps that they do a similar thing. But it sounds like it's the first time that this is really being tied directly into Scintilla. So, do you think that really is going to benefit the Scintilla data set, if you will, or how do you see this really benefiting brands and Walmart for that matter?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a little bit of time will tell, and like what data becomes available in this. Is it kind of a specialized tool that is being now made available?
Yeah.
Is it adding to the richness of the data that's already in Scintilla? I think either way, it's showing that Walmart has leaned into the continued blurred lines of omnichannel and bringing this digital environment and this physical environment, which is what makes them unique in this industry still, and blurring those lines even more. So it feels a little bit like obviously a reskin of some tools like Volt. But hopefully there's expanded capabilities that maybe marketers and retail media can even tap into, right? Obviously, Walmart is looking for ways to make their physical shelf healthy and match up to the digital shelf. So whenever someone is purchasing online, there isn't that gap in the assortment in store.
Right.
Whenever marketers are running offsite ads that are less so tied into a specific store, they're more regional based or audience based, whatever it may be. We're not having gaps where people are converting on ads but not able to convert on product.
Right.
So the ability for that data to flow up the chain into marketers, into agencies even, and get up and be actionable.
Yeah, so I was at a retail event yesterday hosted by Break Time Media. Shout out to Break Time Media, Chris and Josh and Ivana that ran that event yesterday. It was great to connect, but it was one of the fewer times, or maybe more recent times, I would say, that people actually were saying how valuable Scintilla data is.
Yeah.
And I found that to be really, interesting because, I think a lot of times people look at, the data and what is the value of the data? Can you get insights out of the data? Does it really move the needle?
Sure.
I do think that this is an opportunity to augment that data.
Absolutely.
And, even make it more valuable so that when you're building audiences and doing your planning, it can be much, much better. So I definitely, I think this is probably more of a minor change, but I also think that if you think about Walmart's, we'll call it a retail operating system as a whole, like things like this is what makes it more robust, right? All of these different data inputs that can build that data lake that then you can pull insights out of is anything that is provided there that's obviously accurate is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think a lot of brands continue to have we'll call it a fight almost, a justification of that Scintilla price point. It's steep. So Walmart continues to invest in making it a worthwhile investment for brands, which is exciting to see.
Yeah. All right. We're going to change some direction here. We're going to talk about Burger King.
Ooh, Burger King.
Yes. A little QSR. I love QSR. I always think what they do is really fun from a marketing perspective. But Burger King is now using AI to track workers' manners.
All right.
So they're testing an AI system that analyzes employee interactions with customers to evaluate things like politeness and service quality. So the system analyzes audio from the drive-through and in-store conversations. So just imagine microphones, and they're basically in your ear, and scores workers as they're using, friendly behavior, not friendly behavior. So I don't want to say this is like Black Mirror, because in a way, like this has always sort of existed.
Sure.
Like you ever call into a customer service and they say this may be recorded for quality assurance purposes, right? So in a way, but this is feels like more real time, right? So, how do you think about, something like this? Would you want your boss or an AI in your ear telling you what you should be doing or not doing, or evaluating what you're doing in real time?
Yeah. I mean, first thing is, let's not tell Chick-fil-A this, because they may be all over this real quick. But all that to be said, it's an interesting evolution that is happening of, if it's used to measure employees, I hope that in real time, if it's used to measure in real time, I hope that Burger King is also investing in a lot of AI and automation in the back of house, because I think a lot of people are going to struggle with that invasiveness right now. It may still feel a little bit early for that. But at the same time, a lot of people are looking for those kind of assistants to come in and help them be better.
Yeah.
So this is kind of teetering on that line of like, is this making them better, or is this the Overwatch that is kind of pulling the strings and making you be a certain way at all times?
Right. Yeah.
And it's a fine line to walk. So I think from a interaction standpoint, of course, brands and leadership want people to interact with their brand in a pleasant way, and you have to set standards that help people drive that behavior when they're working for your brand.
Yeah.
But this is, again, it's a weird kind of gray area of where is the line to cross here.
Right. Well, I think, whether it be retail, QSR, et cetera, what you're trying to do is you're trying to provide a consistent experience for that customer, right? And obviously you want it to be a high value interaction. You want to make sure that interaction with that customer is top notch, right? And so this is a way that you can coach that, somewhat real time, in order to ensure that everybody is consistent on message, consistent with their behavior.
Yeah.
Because, it's such a competitive landscape out there that, somebody has one bad experience and that could turn into something even more problematic.
Sure. And again, I think it's going to feed well into a lot of the conversations we have later in the talk of data it's just data, and you got to figure out how to use it, and it can be used in the wrong ways or in the right ways. Yeah. Right. And so I think it's a really cool data piece that really good managers are going to take advantage of and build better teams with.
Yeah.
Bad managers and bad teams are just going to be, I think, punished by it more so. But again, there's so many cool opportunities that an AI can kind of bring into a kitchen environment, and something like a lunch rush. It can help you plan for that a little bit better. It can keep you on track a little bit better. Nobody wants to be stuck with a drive-through line of 15, 20 cars and no fresh burgers ready to go out the door. So
yeah, actually,
hopefully help you plan for that a little bit.
Yeah, you actually brought up a good point that I wasn't thinking about earlier. But when you look at the qualitative versus the quantitative, right?
Yeah.
The things that you're talking about, how many customers you serve, how fast people make it through the drive-through, et cetera, that's definitely very quantitative,
Sure.
right? But with this type of scenario, this is qualitative,
Sure.
right? So you can evaluate. There's still some subjectivity, but you can still get to a qualitative, measurement of how the employees are performing and help correct and steer them in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. All right. This one's a fun one. I found, actually I'm guilty of this one, so I'll just throw this out there up front. But there was a survey that found that a surprising number of consumers admit they're hiding purchases from their partners or family members right now. And a lot of that has to do with budget pressure, right? So somebody makes a purchase, whether it's a significant purchase or smaller purchase, they're not as open and transparent about that purchase. Now, like I said, I'm guilty of this one.
Sure.
I have a sneaker addiction, buy sneakers way too often. I have little ways, hopefully my wife's not listening to this one. I have little ways of how I manage, how I spend my money on those things, on those sneakers, so that she doesn't know exactly how much money I'm spending. So, and I think this can happen in obviously a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. So, what do you think is really, making this happen, right? Why do you, is it really just budget pressure? Why do you think that this is happening right now?
Yeah. I mean, maybe we should preface this section with anything we say is not necessarily financial advice.
Yeah.
Our own opinions today.
Sure.
I mean, again, there is obviously a rising cost of goods in our country, and people are feeling pressured by that. But the desire for gratification of products and buying things and that consumerism culture that has been built
Right.
Is still very present, and it's kind of creating this weird kind of crossroads where people are having to decide what's more important to them, like their overall financial health of like their entire family or this short-term gratification of a purchase. There's also the group that I think there's a little bit of like, I don't know, retail nihilism of like, things are just terrible right now. Like, I'm just going to go buy this because I can. I've got student loan debt. I got all these other debts that I had to take care of. What's another $50 on this? So it's creating a very interesting like vacuum and kind of culture. And I think the strange part is, how do brands respond to this?
I actually, one time I had installed a Chrome extension that forced me to shop slow.
Interesting.
So when I added something in the cart and I was trying to go, it would actually put up timers and before, to delay that and ensure that. And it was, I don't use it today, but it was, definitely an experiment. So there are some things, obviously, if you really wanted to shop slower, you could shop slower, but it is interesting because in our world, we talk about reducing friction in the shopping process. We talk about that all the time, right? Maybe we made it too easy. Right? Maybe shopping is too easy. Maybe people have some impulse control are buying stuff and then they have to hide it from their partner. Right? So it's kind of a lot of interesting things if you really think about
a lot of layers to peel back.
Layers to peel back for sure.
I think another interesting piece is obviously a big metric a lot of brands and retailers look at is like a household penetration number. And is this killing that off a little bit? And household penetrations are shifting to now back to individuals. Like you truly have to look at individuals as shoppers versus an entire family unit. As some of these purchases may or may not be part of the family unit or the family finance plan. So it'll be interesting to see continue to evolve, because I don't think we're going to see much cost relief coming anytime soon.
I feel that for sure. I'll try to do better. All right. Well, thanks for walking through some of our quick hit stories. Next, we're going to get into the main topic. All right, Blake. So now we're going to zoom out a bit and we're going to talk about e-commerce. We're going to talk about it broadly. We're going to get into it probably in some detail. It feels like e-commerce, as we think about the future of e-commerce, is it really the future or are we living the future today? Right. And so there's just such another shift. We talked earlier about when you got into this space, it was during the pandemic, and that was a huge e-commerce shift. It feels like there's a lot of change currently that's happening in the e-commerce space, but and it can be a little bit overwhelming, but there's a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity, I think, for brands. And, I think you can help a lot there. So let's just start off with a real simple, but probably complex question, which is, what does it really take to succeed in e-commerce today from your point of view?
Yeah. I mean, it is a big, complex question. Right. There isn't going to be a one size fits all answer for everybody, of course. But I would say it requires a little bit of looking back and looking forward at the same time, right? I think e-commerce is a unique environment where it feels almost building block-ish, right? A lot of the fundamentals that were there whenever e-commerce first started getting off the ground, those fundamentals still exist today. And there's just more layers to it, and there's more beyond the fundamentals than what we had 5 years ago.
Yep.
We'll take content kind of as that core fundamental, right? Whenever digital commerce was launching, we'll take Walmart, for example. Like, the goal was to make the digital shelf look more or less identical to the physical shelf. So there was a seamless experience as shoppers moved to Walmart.com or whatever the site was at the time, that there was no disruption between someone who could walk down an aisle and someone who could walk down a digital shelf.
Yeah.
And so content was the most important thing. Can you get the right image on there so that someone can see what it looks like in store? Can you have the right title and the description so someone can get quick information about the product? That still exists today. And as we're going to talk about, like, probably becoming even more important than ever, as that information is not just living in retailer sites anymore. It is going out, and it is being captured by third-party tools and accessories that are going to change the way that we shop entirely. So I think that is my stance of, if you aren't doing the fundamentals right, which, again, I would correlate back to just content as the core fundamental, it's going to be really hard to be successful in the future, which is going to be AI and agentic search and what the future holds in terms of digital commerce.
Yeah. I also like to think about it from, a shopper psychology perspective to a certain degree, right? I think one of the things that's important is you need to understand your shopper, and you need to understand your product, and you need to understand what your shopper is looking for from your product, right? And so I think sometimes we get too wrapped up in making sure we've got a certain number of images, or we've got a certain title length, and we've got a certain that are we really truly answering the questions that a shopper would particularly have when they land on a item page. It doesn't matter what retailer it is. If you're answering the questions of your core shopper, your likelihood of conversion, which is the ultimate goal, is going to be successful.
Absolutely. And again, it's an interesting space in that you have to appease to human shoppers, of course, today. People are landing on pages and are looking for questions to be answered and looking for confidence in your product as they're purchasing it. But you don't even get that opportunity if you're not appeasing to robots and systems that are just scraping information, more or less. And so it's kind of this dual game that we're having to play today, and will become emphasized even more as we go forward. You don't even get into consideration for human customers, if you aren't appeasing to robots and getting that checked off first.
There's a term that you just used. I want to make sure it's clear for the audience, because I think sometimes it's misunderstood, but the word scraping. Right. So I think you hear that a lot, and I think people throw that word around, scraping. Can you just define for the audience essentially what scraping really is?
Yeah, I probably overgeneralize, use it as well.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We don't need to get into ones and zeros.
Right. The way I use it more or less is a bot or robot, a part of something is going out and collecting the data off of the website. Maybe it's the metadata. It's doing the I don't know, you're inspecting the page where everybody looks at it and goes, I don't know how to code. I don't know what any of this means.
Right.
It knows how to go and extract the data out of that page code to understand what is making up this page, what is making up this product, what is the back end of this, and then collecting it and putting it into nice little tables and formats, or however your data engineering team is kind of collecting that and pulling it together. And so that's the way that I think about scraping. Is that correct? Maybe not. Maybe not the technical term, but that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, I think a simple explanation is typically the best. And what kind of information is typically valuable in that scraping process from your perspective?
I mean, it depends on obviously what part is being scraped, right? If you're scraping an entire keyword and you're looking at search engine results pages, you want to know how many items are here?
Yeah.
What items are here? Are they sponsored or are they organic? What is the price points of those items? And you can extract a lot of insights out of just understanding who is showing up on what keywords. Or you get into individual item pages, it's item detail, it's attributes, what attributes are filled in, what attributes are not. What is the ratings and reviews on these items, right? You can extract a lot of that information out. Price points, tags like rollbacks or bestseller flags or whatever it may be.
Right.
So again, anything that is more or less visible on the page can absolutely be extracted out and be pulled off by a scraper per se. But there's even unseen information that a lot of people maybe don't tap into and don't see. And I think a lot of brands who understand that and can tap into that better than others will see benefit there.
Right. Yeah. No. I think that word is used quite a bit, especially I know in our world, and so I think it was helpful to get a definition on that. So coming back to the conversation a bit, like what have you seen really change in the last couple of years when it's come to e-commerce?
Yeah. I want to say what hasn't changed, but there's some.
It's easier to say what hasn't changed.
There's things that have stayed relatively consistent. I think the biggest ones for me are going to be data availability. As you look at all of these different retailers, they're rolling out clean rooms with data that was never thought possible in the previous world. Walmart in store would never be able to attribute data the way it has created now.
Right.
The traceable tender usage has gone up over the years, and therefore creates really cool ways to track shoppers and create audiences. So I think data is a huge shift. Obviously, the shopper journey is a big shift. You see more and more people moving online. You see new avenues starting to spin up. You see agentic search. You see agentic agents doing the shopping for you. Yeah. So I think the shopper journey is obviously changing pretty dramatically. And then retailer expectations, I think, is a huge thing that oftentimes kind of gets forgotten about in what's changing in this world.
Right.
Walmart, as an entire retailer, like their revenue structure is changed tremendously over the last 5 years. Right. Not just e-commerce and the shift over to e-commerce. It's all the auxiliary functions around e-commerce. It's Scintilla and brands having to pay for Scintilla. It's Walmart Connect and
the media
pay for ads. Yep. And it's membership for shoppers having to have a Walmart Plus membership. It's all these other components. It's Walmart fulfillment services. If you're a brand that's trying to sell third party on Walmart, you want your product to be shipped in 2 days.
Yeah.
That's another tax or fee that Walmart is now collecting and changing their revenue structure. So expectations are changing. And I think Walmart sees a lot of benefit in moving people online because they get all these other kind of revenue streams that come from that. So they're not afraid to move shoppers online and kind of move out of the store format a little bit. So I think those three are the first couple pieces that come to mind of what's changed in this environment. Yeah. Everything, but those.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from a Walmart perspective because obviously they want to build a marketplace with a great assortment at a great price, and obviously having the convenience of being able to get that product clearly in a short period of time, right? Get it to their doorstep, and so I think there is that benefit of making the shopping experience easy. And if they can do that for the shopper will come back. They'll buy more through Walmart. So I think there are a lot of strategies that I think Walmart is executing on right now to grow that assortment, grow the base, assortment extension, et cetera, right? Because inevitably, if I'm going and I'm looking for something and I don't find what I'm looking for, I'm going to go somewhere else, and I may not come back. Yeah. Right. And so there's that opportunity. So it's that trying to make it sticky, I guess, is really what I'm thinking about here is that stickiness.
Absolutely. I mean, Walmart is pushing brands to have their full assortment on Walmart.com. So even if Walmart doesn't want to take it on their shelves, if you're these big national brands that are accustomed to just kind of having those items that are in stores be your focus, Walmart has kind of changed the rule book a little bit and said, we want your entire assortment, whether it's on our shelves or not, it needs to be available to be shipped to customers. Yeah. They're courting more and more third-party and marketplace sellers to come in and add their assortment to the mix. They just changed their open call, their infamous once a year kind of big open call event. And now it's going to be multiple times a year, and it's going to kind of lead up to this big macro event. But there's more of those events taking place as they continue to court innovation and new people and sellers coming into their ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been talking a little bit about shelf. So let's talk about like the digital shelf.
Yeah.
And, how important is that digital shelf? So obviously the in-store shelf, you walk down the aisle, you can, see that assortment. You get to the digital shelf, and obviously it's not the same. You don't see it the same way, right? And so, your position, how you come across to the shopper, are you looking at it through a mobile phone? Are you looking at it through a computer? There's a lot of variation there that impacts the digital shelf. So, how important is that? Will shoppers just continue to find what they're looking to find until they find it? Or is it really important just to make sure that digital shelf is really structured and organized properly?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. And again, when you think about structuring the digital shelf, right, is that more of a responsibility of the brands or the retailer to get that right? And it falls on both in some degree, right? Brands are responsible for their products and making sure that they're set up to win. And obviously, you said earlier, we're in a capitalist society. Everyone's a little bit greedy and wants to go and make their money.
Yeah.
And so brands have a vested interest in making sure their PDPs are set up for success and can win on the digital shelf. Meanwhile, Walmart is maybe less focused on individual brand success. They're looking at the whole. They're looking at the category. They're looking at this keyword. How do they make it as successful as possible and getting the right mix of items into the digital shelf? Because you're exactly right. People aren't going to scroll forever to find what they want. They're going to probably give it a couple scrolls if they don't see what they want, if they're not in the right space.
Yeah.
They're going to research today. They're going to go type in a different keyword, right? In the future, as we continue to move towards different methodologies here, there is no necessarily like research, right? There is a process that is going to have more understanding of what you're looking for. It's going to take in more of your preferences and your personalization. It's probably going to have hypothetically, a better yield in the return that it brings back to you. So the digital shelf is.
Here's my observation of the digital shelf today is it feels more cluttered. We've added in more sponsored placements, whether it's a sponsored product or whether it's a search brand amplifier or a sponsored video, and like it just feels like now the shelf. There's a concept in store called clean store, clean aisles, clear in Action Alley, and obviously down the aisle, like much cleaner experience for the shopper, makes it easier for them to make it through the store and hopefully buy more products as they work their way through the store. I feel like we need to go to a clean shelf strategy for e-commerce. But my concern is, how much we're throwing into that shelf and making it even more friction laden for the shopper to find what they're looking for.
Yeah. Where's the ad blocker for sponsored products and all this stuff? It has become cluttered and messy in a lot of ways, and brands are still trying to figure out how to navigate that, right? These items that are typically at the top of these search results because they're some of the best performing items, they're getting suppressed more and more and more. And those same items that had a right to win previously now have to pay to have that right to win.
Right. Yeah.
And items that are buried further in search grids, the only way to get forward now oftentimes is to pay. And those aren't commensurate, pay amounts, right? Yeah. Walmart and other retailers are very smart and savvy and say, hey, just because you want to sponsor here doesn't mean it's a flat fee, right? You're going to have to pay more because we're taking a risk putting you that's buried in our search results up into this really premium real estate. So we're going to have to more or less collect our fee up front a little bit to have the risk of putting you up there and degrading our search grid some.
Yeah.
And I say degrading, obviously, like it may be a great product and it may actually deserve to be there and you need that retail media to help it get there. But according to an algorithm, it's not the best fit for this keyword. And so it's taking that risk when you're there. And so it has created a retail media tax across the board. The saturation of paid placements is a little bit out of control, in my opinion. But brands keep doing it and they keep paying it. And so,
I mean, you have no choice, in a lot of cases in order to compete.
Absolutely.
Right. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about AI. Yep. Right. And so it's funny, we've probably been, talking for 15, 20 minutes. We haven't gotten to AI yet. But, AI is definitely having a huge impact on e-commerce. Like, what do you think, if you just think about the holistic approach and practice of e-commerce, what role do you see AI playing in that practice?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a today, a short term, term type answer to each of these. I think today you're starting to see AI in the terms of product research in a lot of ways.
Yep.
You see people going to AI, kind of asking questions and kind of helping them figure out what they want to purchase.
Yeah.
Hey, what is the best skincare for me? What is the best fill in the blank?
Yep.
And you see AI starting to have a better understanding of the user that it's answering the question for, and therefore able to return better products and able to have that conversation along the way instead of trusting that the user will use the right filters along the way. Right. It is able to do a lot of that product research and give you some better information. So that's where I see it like today. Obviously, you see it dabbling in agents starting to do search or starting to do purchases for you.
Right.
You see them lean into it and then you see them lean out of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, let's try to figure this out. And then maybe it doesn't work as well as it should right now. And so they quickly kind of backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
It's going to go that way.
Right.
There's no doubt that at some point, like, we're going to be offloading a lot of that shopping to assistants that know you and can purchase for you and know your purchase cycles and how fast your family goes through a box of, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's going to know that and be able to better support your purchasing habits in that way.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of the shortish to long term. The long term is there even like shopping sites in the future, or is there agentic workflows? Is there just an agentic platform that you're kind of managing this assistant that is going to a, I don't know, almost like a warehouse environment versus a like true search grid, right? We talked about the digital shelf being this kind of the digital impression of the physical store, right? As we move into this agentic world, is that site even necessarily needed anymore? Is that front-facing digital store environment even really a need state?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how that evolves, and as traffic maybe declines in those places, how that works. But obviously, you've got the retailers that are going to be defensive of that. They want people on their sites. They get money from that. They get the benefits of that. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world partner with the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, the Google Geminis of the world to not pull traffic away from them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a very it's a gray area still.
What about as a supplier or a brand, right? How are you as a supplier brand? How are you using AI in the e-commerce sense? Like, what are the opportunities there? What do you see from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think data aggregation and kind of the synthesization of data it becomes a lot easier with an AI system. The challenge there is data cleanliness, and the data you get from Walmart doesn't always match up to the data that you have at Amazon and the data that you have at Kroger and fill in the blank. Like everyone has their own way of structuring it. And so the ability to maybe have an AI system clean that for you and put it into legible formats and digestible formats will be crucial. And I think one way that a lot of brands will lean into AI quickly.
Yeah.
I think you got the content creation side. I mean, a shameless plug a little bit for an ad theory, right?
Do it.
That's kind of the bet that we're placing on the market is eventually the need to create content at scale, the need to create personalized content. As before retailer sites maybe go entirely away, they're going to continue to evolve, and maybe the content that I see on a PDP is different than the content you would see on a PDP, and the ability to create that at scale or have tools that can maybe even build it in the moment. Like that seems crazy. That maybe that would exist, and you could put legal barriers around it. But it can build content in the moment that is tailored to you and to me and to other shoppers. So I think that there is a lot of ways that you can start to think about content creation from an AI standpoint. Is it totally there yet? Not necessarily, right? We feel that in a lot of ways. And some.
What do you mean? I could just put whatever I want into ChatGPT, and it's going to give me a description, right?
Right. It's going to be perfect.
It's going to be perfect. So related to that, so let's talk about AEO and GEO, the EO twins. If they're triplets if you add in SEO, right? So we've got that, right? But Can you explain from your perspective AEO, GEO, and how would brands really care about that when it comes to e-commerce?
Depends who you're referencing in terms of AEO and GEO. It feels like there's still a little bit of a lack of authority on the subject.
There is,
right?
Correct, yeah.
A lot of people have similar perspectives. Like, it's not just like the total Wild West and we're all trying to figure this out. But there isn't necessarily a governing, like, this is exactly how we do GEO. This is exactly how we do AEO. At the end of the day, I think it's summed up in a way of AEO is going to be that kind of next step beyond SEO. SEO is getting those couple keywords in, making sure that your titles and descriptions have those most impactful keywords in there. AEO is going to kind of take it to that next step of being very descriptive, and it's going to give you the answers to what is the best, hyaluronic acid face cream for me.
Right.
And it's going to start to be able to tie together multiple attributes to understand what a product is. And so it's going to be that next kind of level of description. And so this is going to be a little bit more in that kind of realm of almost keyword stuffing. I don't like to use that word. I don't feel like it's the right way to describe it, but you want to have rich data behind your items. You want to make sure that all your attribute fields are filled out, not just checking boxes to make your Walmart content quality score good, but making sure that every attribute that is applicable to your items that somebody could somehow search to try to find your item it is filled out. Making sure that your descriptions and key features and your titles aren't just checking boxes in terms of make sure you have this one keyword in there, make sure you have this one attribute in there.
Right.
No, it's a richness, and it is going to feed an engine that is going to be looking for more than just one keyword.
Right.
GEO is then kind of the authority side. So it's going to be looking for those claims and those things that make your product unique and kind of stand out in the market, and gives it credibility and builds trust, and lets a AI tool or agent have a high level of confidence in this product.
Yeah.
So GEO is going to be more claims. So the more that you can get out there and kind of get unique components to your product and the unique claims about your product, the better there.
Right.
And that's going to help kind of feed whenever someone starts to look for specific, we'll say certifications or specific qualities of products beyond just maybe like a general attribute.
Right.
So that's kind of the rough sense of the two. Again, probably not doing them justice in their full sense. But that's where a lot of brands are trying to sit right now, is trying to balance between retailer standards. Like a Walmart retailer standard is still pretty heavily probably SEO based.
Sure.
And they have to build content across an entire catalog of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of items, right? And have to kind of build guidelines across all of those different product types. And it takes a lot to make changes to those standards.
Right.
And so they're probably still a little bit more in that SEO world of this is how we want you to build content according to our style guides and according to our content quality scores. They're quickly going to move if I can almost guarantee you behind the scenes, they're already moving on updating those standards and what does the future look like and how do we need to write content on our site to make sure that we are scrapable, that we are a site that AI agents and AI tools will reference.
Yeah, we're AI friendly.
Exactly. That's what I would say it. And so you'll see those roll out. So brands are kind of stuck between a little bit of that rock and a hard place.
Right.
We have to adhere to Walmart style guides. We have to adhere to Walmart content quality scores, but we know we could be doing more and we may be missing out on the future. So finding that line to walk is a little bit tricky. I would tell you for each brand, it's probably going to depend on that merchant relationship and what they're prioritizing and what their goals and objectives are. You see the swing from time to time of content quality scores are the most important thing you could possibly spend your time on right now. To now, I feel like that has backed off a little bit, and there isn't as much pressure on brands to get their content quality scores in a certain to a certain level.
Sure.
But as they roll out new standards, as they start to think about the future of commerce, that's going to change, and you're going to see that content quality score hopefully match up to the new.
It could be even a totally different.
It could
number.
It absolutely could.
A different measurement.
It could be an additional measurement on top of a content quality score.
Yeah, I think we're at a very interesting space because you read the trades, you see media, everybody's talking about AI, you got to prepare for it. Mm-hmm. People are going from ChatGPT to your site to and it's driving traffic, so you've got to optimize for that. And I do think that there's obviously a certain amount of that, but I have not seen anything that has really at this point shown me that shopper behavior has fully changed over to using agents, LLMs, etc., in order to do their shopping yet. And I'm not saying that you don't have like your playbook or you start to work on your playbook, but I think today to say that we're going to, optimize our item page to a specific EO, right? Engine optimization of some sort, AO, EGEO.
Sure.
Is a little, I don't want to say it's premature because you should always be testing and learning. So I'm not discrediting that. But I do think like sometimes there's a little bit of too much hype that's been fed into some of these things. And until Walmart or Amazon says to support our AEO and GEO strategies, these are the requirements in which until that happens, it's going to be a guessing game.
Yeah.
And you're going to be pivoting probably every single day for that matter, because they're all working on something.
Sure. You're spot on there. The one thing that I think pushes I guess the one thing that I would call out there is you look at maybe like the Apple App Store today and what the top 5 most downloaded apps are on the App Store. It's going to be Gemini. It's going to be Cloud. It's going to be OpenAI. It's going to be even Grok is up there in like the top couple downloaded apps. So these AI apps are permeating everybody's choices at this point, and nobody is really shying away from it at this point. I think there was about a year long of people getting over that, maybe a little bit of fear around AI and what's to come. And now it's a part of most everybody's lives in some way or fashion. And so you're exactly right. The shopper behavior has not changed today, but with that amount of saturation of AI tools into people's lives, I think it'll move quick.
Right.
Obviously, it's not like an overnight thing, but I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year. By next year, you're starting to see a very different way of searching for products.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but just think about how long it's really taken for e-commerce, shopping online, to even achieve, let's just say, just to be generous, 25% of the market is e-commerce, right? The other 75 to 80-ish% is in store, right? We've been shopping in store for a long time. And just that behavior change, just to get to e-commerce, it took the pandemic. To get there. And again, I am as bullish on AI as anybody you'll ever talk to.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that AI is not going to have an impact on shopping. But what I do think is like, it's going to take a long time.
Sure.
I think for the common consumer that doesn't understand AI, it's going to take some inflection point.
Sure.
That we cannot see at this point that is going to drive that behavior change.
Yeah.
I think about it like I used to talk about this, the killer app, right? There used to be this concept, or it's probably still a concept called a killer app.
Yeah.
And a killer app, and I think about it from the standpoint, if I go way back, I go to Xbox, right? The killer app is software or an application of some sort that is so good that it motivates people to do something outside of buying that software. So in this case with Halo, people bought Xboxes just to play Halo.
Sure.
Right. And so Halo was a killer app, right? The QR code was a joke, right? There was a website called people scanning QR codes. You go to the website, there was a blank page.
Yeah.
Right. Until what? Until the pandemic happened. Now QR codes are back. Like you cannot go anywhere without a QR code. Or there's QR codes in this room. Like I think I can't anticipate what that inflection point has to be for AI based shopping to take over. I think AI informed shopping will be part of that. I don't go to shop and I don't look for shopping for my kid's birthday, 9-year-old birthday party every single day.
Yeah.
Right. But I sure as heck shop for the staples that I need, bread, milk, butter. Like I don't need AI for that, right? And so I think there has to be some thought that goes into where AI plays into shopping, the shopping journey, and where is it best suited and optimized for that. Because I don't want to ask a question, what is the best milk to buy? I don't need to do that.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I know I buy Fairlife, and that's what I get, and I add it to my cart every single time.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting point of where will it permeate first. Is it going to do the kind of low emotion shopping? Like, is it going to go buy the milk because you don't?
No, I don't think it will. I don't think nobody's using. This is my point.
Yeah.
Nobody uses AI to buy toilet paper.
I totally agree with that statement of, I don't think anyone's doing product research around those things with AI, but I think that you're going to see adoption of the low emotion categories a little bit quicker with an AI tool. I don't even have to think about what milk I'm going to buy. So an AI tool can go do that for me.
Right.
Versus I'm going to use an AI tool to go and do my research and make sure that I get the right TV, the right sound system, all these components that work together, and use an AI system that can connect all those dots, because this is a big purchase for me.
Yeah.
Versus, again, that low commitment. I don't even have to worry about this. Even if it sends me the wrong milk, so what? I don't really care that much.
Right.
So I don't know. This is the world we live in.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Right. There is
so many differing philosophies of how this is going to crack in first,
right,
how it's really going to find a foothold. And is a very fair point of, look, maybe even a year is way too bullish. It probably is too bullish.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see shifts, and I think it's adoption, right? I think so many people have it integrated in their lives, and that's also just the world of technology. It moves faster. Every technological advance moves faster than the last one.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. This is it's unfathomable how fast it's moving. I just don't think that Joe Shopper cares enough to use AI. I think here's what I think. I think AI will power the back end of shopping systems, whatever it is, whether you're starting on a Google Chrome browser, or you're going to Walmart.com, or even if let's just say even you're using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
AI will be working behind the scenes in order to help facilitate the best results possible.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to be the shopping application for all reasons, all parties, for every single situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think personalization will be kind of an interesting layer to that.
Yeah.
Right. Retailers have, but are even more so now, starting to layer in personalization to
for sure
their search results, and the ability for AI to, again, collect all this data about shoppers.
Yep.
And build the right search grids for them to make conversion better and easier. And
what makes AI great is context.
Yes.
Right. The better your context, the better the AI will deliver on your needs. So there has to be a huge push into building that context.
Yeah.
For around a shopper, around an occasion, whatever.
Yeah.
So that there is a more positive result.
Yeah.
Right?
It'll be interesting, or I guess it would be very interesting to look at the Amazons and Walmart's almost like memory layer of you and what the system thinks of you.
For sure.
I think there's almost like this trend going around of like asking OpenAI or Gemini to like describe me based on our chats. Like, what would that be like if you were asking your retailer to describe you based on purchases, right?
Yeah. Maybe you should try that with Sparky.
There we go.
Hey, Sparky, what kind of shopper am I? All right, as we wrap up the main topic, so what are some best practices that you think brands should use to improve their e-commerce today?
Obviously, content is still king, and we have to be focused there.
If content is king, who's queen?
Retail media strategy.
Okay, all right,
is queen. And I specifically put strategy in there because I think a lot of brands still too often just kind of put money in the jukebox and hope that is what gives them the acceleration that they need.
Yep.
And retail media is incredibly complex and incredibly fast moving to where I don't think that works anymore. And I think you're just letting money go out the back door if you're just putting money into the system and hoping it figures it out.
Right.
It takes a very intentional strategy. So I think what brands should be doing, and again, we talked a lot about content today. I'll flip some of these back over to like retail media. I think chasing that first time purchase and being extremely aggressive with your retail media is something that is maybe a little bit underrated today and a little bit undervalued. There's sometimes too much focus on we'll call like some vanity-ish metrics of CPCs and ROAS and making sure I'm hitting those targets. And while there's good guardrails there, you're oftentimes maybe missing an opportunity to go and capture that first time shopper, and knowing that personalization is becoming increasingly important. The ability to get a shopper into kind of your spoke into your world, where your items will become part of their personalization, is almost impossible to quantify, because it brings them closer to your brand and brings them closer to repurchasing your products. And so I think a lot of brands may miss the opportunity to invest really heavy. I even hesitate to say like new to brand, because new to brand is such a muddy metric right now, especially as you look across different channels, right? If someone truly new to my brand, if they're buying my brand across Amazon, Walmart, Kroger, H-E-B, like all these different retailers, again, that's the messiness of first party data, and nobody really wanted to share their data across the board. But within these individual ecosystems, new to brand is a really important metric to be chasing, and making sure that you're chasing those first time shoppers. Of course, new to brand has its limitations in terms of how it attributes and how it kind of quantifies that. But yeah, I think first time purchase is a really valuable metric that pays a lot of dividends that maybe people don't realize.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your insights today. I've obviously learned a lot, and great conversation around e-commerce. I think obviously as we look at, where e-commerce is today, there's still going to be a whole lot that it will be happening in the not too distant future. So thanks for your insights today.
Yeah.
Are you ready to talk some bold vibes? So want your gut reaction on these statements.
All right. Gut reaction.
You ready?
Here we go.
Ready? So all right, I'm gonna throw out these prompts and you just tell me your quick take. All right.
Okay.
All right. Overrated e-commerce metric.
ROAS.
That's too easy.
I know, right? Everyone chooses that. Right?
How about underrated e-commerce capability?
I'm going to go with budget fluidity. The ability to move budget between tactics, between channels.
Man, I've been on the wrong side of that one. That's a tough one. All right. E-commerce trend that everyone should be paying attention to.
I'm going to say personalization.
E-commerce trend that is overhyped.
I'm going to say anything to do with like AR and VR right now. Augmented reality and virtual reality.
I think that should.
Is it already passed?
I think that should.
Has everyone punted on that one already?
What is the most important capability e-commerce teams will need in the future?
I'm going to say like data orchestration, or like the syncing of data. I think that is one of the hardest things right now, and hopefully AI agents help make that a little bit easier.
What is your bold prediction for the future of e-commerce?
Oh, man. I'm going to go back to the well a little bit here and say, I think that at some point we may not have like search grids, like shopping grids of products, right? I don't think there's going to be a like search environment per se. That may be way far-fetched, but how much of our shopping will be done by, again, an agent that understands what you need already, and then more or less you have a conversation about what else is of interest, or this agent is going to surface a product that you may like, versus having to constantly go and like search yourself and find things yourself. So maybe the death of search engine or search results.
All right. Hiding a purchase from your significant other is definitely okay.
Definitely a gray area.
Okay. And then
BV with shoes.
Finally, everyone should have a listening device in their ear to tell them when they are messing up and what to do to correct it.
Whew. I don't know if I can get on board with that one, but there's potential for some good out of it.
Yeah, that's the last thing I need is somebody in my ear.
Right.
Me, I screwed up this podcast somehow. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for playing bold vibes.
Yeah.
All right. That's a wrap on this episode of Retail Media Vibes. Huge thanks to Blake for joining the show today and giving us his perspective on the future of e-commerce. Before we go, Blake, do you have anything you want to shout out, or anybody you want to plug, or anything like that?
Man, honestly, I thought a little bit about this of where I want to go, what I want to plug, and I don't have anything specific. I think it's just kind of a general push to all of us in this community to continue to get out and build connection with people. I think the world is changing rapidly, and as we think about AI and as we think about macroeconomic factors, like there's risk for a lot of people to continue to kind of hermit up and be a little bit more we'll call it antisocial in a lot of ways. And I think humans crave connection. And so that's my general plug is encourage everyone, like, continue to be a part of communities, continue to be a part of your world.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point, because I think the ability to have that human connection, and that's why I like this podcast, to be honest. Like, I have an opportunity to talk with people, and we talk about things, and we have that connection to that comes together around retail media and topics related to retail media, but it's really about the time that we spend together to talk about these things. And so I highly encourage those of you out there to do the same thing with people that and you trust. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give us a like, share it with somebody in the industry, or drop a comment. It really helps people find the show, and I'd really like to get a few more people listening. But I also want to say a huge thank you to the listeners. I've had a lot of feedback out there in the wild from people who have come up to me and said how much they love the show, and some of the guests that I've had on, and how great the conversations have been. So I want to thank those people. That is encouragement that really keeps this podcast going, to be quite honest. And but I do thank all of those people, including my wife. My wife actually just started listening to the show a couple of episodes ago. So, honey, thanks for listening. And so, but I do appreciate the encouragement. So, with that, thanks for listening. And as always, I promise to do better next time. BV out.